Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most versatile, blessed, high energy brothers you'd ever meet. It would be doing you an injustice just to call you a rapper, just to call you a charting established artist, teacher, investor, actor, speaker, hooper.
Yeah, hooper.
People don't say that enough.
Yeah.
Most importantly, like you say on your IG, a man of God.
Yeah.
Welcome D1 to the Untold podcast.
Thank you, bro. I'm really hyped right now, bro.
Oh, man.
For real. Like, this is a great spirit in here, bro.
Man,
Yeah.
that's what I've noticed about all your interviews is the spirit you bring. And this is not where I planned on starting, but I just want to start here.
Yep.
There's something that exudes through the camera that's real, righteous, and relevant. Like, where does that come from?
The desire for me to be authentic supersedes my desire to prove that I'm talented, you know? Because as I've traveled this world, I see how many talented people there are. And I see people like in a traffic jam, you heard me, to try to prove that they're more talented than the next person or than their competition, you know? And honestly, I just got tired of trying to compete when it comes to talent, when I know when it comes to authenticity, no one can outdo me because no one is me. So I'm just like, as long as I shine through with that authenticity each and every time that I interact with a person, whether the camera is on or not, as long as that authenticity shines through, I won. You know what I mean? I won.
You are Louisiana bred.
Yeah, New Orleans.
New Orleans
Yeah.
specifically. My mom is from a small town. You probably never heard of Epps, Louisiana.
Epps.
Yeah.
You serious?
You know Epps?
Not at all. No, I'm like, is that really a town? Like,
Bro,
Epps?
EPPS, Louisiana. So
shout out to Epps. You heard me? Shout out to all the Epsilons in the building. Yeah.
yeah, no, but I've found it to be consistent. There's a realness about people that are from New Orleans. Like, let's go back to your roots. What bred you? What made you D1? Before you wrote down a bar, what made D1 D1 in the fabric of New Orleans?
Growing up in New Orleans, I do feel like I saw heaven and hell on earth. You know, all in my childhood, man. Like, when I say heaven on earth, it had nothing to do with material possessions, but in terms of just a rich culture to where people have this joy and radiate, with this sense of like light that it just feels like, yo, you special. Like you might not even have $1,000 to your name in the bank, but you a star. You know what I mean? It's so many people like that down there, so rich with that spirit, and I feel like I got that in my bloodstream, right? And at the same time, I've definitely seen hell on earth, when it comes to just a culture that was so rooted in violence and glorifying, our ability to overcome hard times with violent measures, you know what I'm saying? And to the point where that's also in your bloodstream. And by me being a combination and a mixture, like a melting pot, a bowl of gumbo, essentially, of all these things that's the best and worst of what life has to offer. That's what always made me feel comfortable in any setting, but not ever like, oh, I'm just like these people. Like, I'm always in a place where it's like, oh, D chilling, D having a good time, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I'm a little different than what's going on right now. But at the same time, I'm fully immersed in what's going on right now and comfortable in whatever setting, but never fully felt like being just a member of a big clique would feel comfortable for me. I kind of always beat to my own drum, and I know that that's some New Orleans stuff because we never had gangs in New Orleans. So that the advent of, gang culture down there, I want to say that really started with Lil Wayne, with his affiliation with the Bloods and all that stuff. Because I know for a fact, anybody who grew up with me knew that, no, man, we don't have gangs in New Orleans because no one is essentially trying to be up under this hierarchy of people, because everyone is kind of like, yeah, I'm cool with y'all, but I still beat to my own drum at the end of the day. And that's all, bro. I just think that's so ingrained in me. But it's really cool because as I talk about beating to my own drum, God, to bring God into the conversation, has really always like blessed me to not be too much of an extremist, because while beating to my own drum, I was one of the fortunate, young black men in my hood who had his father in the house. And so I definitely don't have issues with submitting to authority. You know what I mean? Sometimes I've seen with my friends that beating to your own drum extends so far to where, like, no one, you're what we call in New Orleans an untamed gorilla, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you just like wild magnolia, like you just straight out this jungle, and people don't know what to expect from you. And I have a little bit of that in me, but it's balanced off with like definitely having my pops, having my grandpa around for sure, has made it to where like I also know how to keep that untamed gorilla in check, you know what I mean?
You can follow authority at the same time you follow the beat of your own drum.
There you go. So I can be an innovator while still submitting to the right type of leadership. I can easily tell when it's the wrong type of leadership, and if it's like, oh, y'all want me to submit to this? Nah, that ain't gonna work for me, partner. Like I'm definitely that as well. But the right type of leadership, yeah, I can definitely submit to that. And at the same time, be an innovator.
Humble beast.
There you
go.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I love it. So we just talked about the metaphorical beating to your own drum. Let's talk about the actual literal beating to your own drum. Like New Orleans, I mean, there's so much sauce in the music where, if it's a PJ Morton or a Lucky Day, or it's like, I'm doing my own thing. How did you build your own sound coming from New Orleans?
Yeah, so my sound is a combination of Nas and the Hot Boys.
That's filthy. Yeah, I love that.
That's my sound, bro.
I love that.
That's my sound. Like it's sophisticated. It's it's street, but it's conscious.
Yeah.
But it's southern, and it's witty, and it's gritty, and it's got a little bit of like flash in it. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you put it together. That's been my sound, man. And hip hop as a teaching tool is something that often goes unspoken about or underappreciated, is how much hip hop really teaches us. So there were a lot of conversations that I heard spoken about via the artists that I was listening to, the Hot Boys or Nas, that we never had those conversations about these topics in my household. There were uncomfortable topics that nobody was willing to bring forth to the table, or just sometimes as parents, like when you realize that your parents are just, now that you get to be grown, and you realize, my parents were just like in their 20s figuring it out too. You know what I'm saying? Like literally like growing into their manhood and their womanhood as well. Like that part is like a revelation when you really recognize that. So it's like, okay, I can't be mad at y'all for maybe certain things I wish we talked about or whatever. But all the things that we didn't talk about at home, I learned about them through hip hop.
It's funny you say Nas and Hot Boys, because I read somewhere, and I'm curious how you would react to this. They said if Tupac and Lauryn Hill had a baby, it would be DEE-1.
That's dope. Yeah. Now that's dope. That's dope as well.
That's some mean genes, bro.
Yeah, that's some mean genes. You hear me? Yeah, Tupac and Lauryn Hill. Yeah, for sure. Because when I think of Tupac, the first thing I think of is it's because of his mom, Miss Afeni Shakur, that I'm even rapping to this day. Because when I first started out as a rapper, I was in college as well. I had that story that multiple rappers have of, in high school, you were the man in sports, you know what I'm saying? So I was the star basketball player in high school. I ended up going to LSU in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a D1 school, Division I school, to go. The plan was to play ball. The plan was also to stay kind of close to home, because I got a real severe health condition, like this disorder, something with my chest and my esophagus area, for all the medical, people out there. But it's called achalasia. But and I kind of wanted to stay close to home because I had a big surgery senior year pertaining to that. But then also my girlfriend was going to LSU at the time, right? So all these things led me to going there thinking I'm gonna play ball, be with my girl, and be with my clique from the NO that all came to school. Shoot, all within the course of 1 year, fell out with my clique. My best friend actually got murdered. My girl and I broke up. She ended up, cheating on me with a football player, but still kind of. I know, dog. It still stink, dog. It still stink. But nah, that and then the basketball stuff didn't work out, man. Like I experienced the politics of college sports, firsthand, and it's something real serious, yeah, that made it to where that didn't work out in my favor either. So with that being said, I got to the point where I started rapping as just a hobby, bro, like, and I don't know how it was when you were in school, but it just became the thing that, especially the black dudes on campus, that it was like, oh yeah, everybody gonna be in room 803, such and such got a microphone. Hey, we all finna go over there and just be spitting, going around the room recording or just having like a little cypher, a little freestyle session. In doing that stuff, I'm pretty self-aware, and I was like, all right, I kind of stand out compared to the rest of my peers that are doing this. So I was like, this might be something, right? So I built up the courage to enter this talent show on campus. They had Showtime at the Apollo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they called this Showtime at the Cotillion because we had something called the Cotillion Ballroom, right, on LSU, in the Student Union on LSU's campus. So I entered Showtime at the Cotillion, and I'm fresh off of, some ciphers with my partners and feeling like I'm that boy, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm about to murk this. Like, this about to be crazy. And it just hit different. It's like being real good at street ball, and then you get put onto a court in a real game with structure, and you're like, yo, that same skill set not really translating on this court,
Great analogy.
Yeah, and so the talent show came, and they had third place, second place, first place, and I was no place. You know what I mean? I was no place, bro. So I didn't win the talent show or anything of that nature. But what I did do was I realized the power of hip hop, because when I had that microphone in my hand and I saw all 400 or 500 students in that ballroom paying attention to me in that moment with this microphone, I was like, man, just like David, that's my first name, David. Just like David defeated Goliath with a slingshot, I feel like I could defeat the Goliaths in this world with my slingshot, which is this microphone. And it just really clicked to me, bro, like the light bulb went off that first performance I did, even though it didn't go well, you know what I mean? It's like, it didn't go well by the world's standards, but mentally it gave me the push I needed to form the desire to want to be great at this craft. Because I knew, like, if I was great, if I had more than just raw talent, then, I could actually, like, achieve some real success in this thing. So now it's like, okay, I gotta work on my game, you know what I mean? Metaphorically, I gotta work on my game, get in the gym. So it did that. So to bring it full circle, Miss Afeni Shakur, the next time I got on a stage, she was there to speak at our campus, right? So Miss Afeni came down to speak at our campus, and one of my college professors, he brought her in, and he was my Black history teacher, and he said, D, he started like a ministry on campus. It was like a church ministry, right? And it was dope because it's like, man, this is a real Black history professor, but he's like a pastor on the weekends, and he's really relatable and just really first Black man I ever knew who was making 6 figures, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I remember him showing me one of his check stubs, and I'm like, bro, is this possible? Like, really? Like, you make this much every month? It's crazy. Really inspiring to me. He gave me the opportunity to open for Miss Afeni when she came to speak on campus. So I got to perform again. I had been working on my craft at this time, and I knew I was a lot better than I was at that talent show. And when I was performing on stage, I saw her sitting in the front row, and I just saw like this intense look that she was giving me, and just like really like vibing to me, right? So I was like, oh, she feeling me? I'm feeling me even more. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on that type of time. Mm-hmm. And then when I finished, and before she came up to speak to everyone, she said, your passion and your stage presence remind me of my son. And when she told me that, dog,
Come on.
I was like, y'all can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me I'm not finna do this now. Like, I got the cosign of all cosigns, you know what I mean? So when you say I'm between a Tupac and a Lauryn Hill, like that's powerful right there, man. You know, Lauryn Hill, I think about Lauryn Hill because I just think about being real young, you know, like, shoot, you know, me and my friends catching the RTA, that's the bus back in New Orleans, not the school bus, but that's like the, you know, the public transportation. And we before we go back home, we all in, what was it? Maybe Tower Records and whatnot. And this when CDs were out. So yeah, so Miseducation of Lauryn Hill drops, you know what I'm saying? And one of my boys, God bless his soul, he got killed. But I remember him, he stole a CD out of Tower Records, you know what I mean? And just, I was like, bro, what you stealing, like, what you peeling the plastic off for, man? And like, bro, like, we could buy this, bro. But he stole a CD, and then we listening to it, and it's like, oh, this lady is anointed, man. This lady gifted, you know? So for that to be someone who my name is in the same sentence as her, yeah, bro. Tupac and Lauryn Hill, I like that. I often say I feel like a mixture between Nas and the Hot Boys, but that's great as well. And an even bigger point is that I also think it's up to people to decide what they view us as. You know what I'm saying? I've learned not to try to micromanage how people perceive the art that I am creating. It's just my job to be a creator.
Wow. How do you, man, I got to follow up with that. How do you not micromanage it? How do you create, and then on to the next one?
And then on to the next. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think you have to have a lot of confidence that that wherever you end up is where God wanted you to be. You know, so for me, that's what it's about, bro. Like trying to micromanage how people view me. Or anyone that's a creator, if you're trying to micromanage how they view you, it's almost like you don't trust your art enough to make the impression that it needs to make, you know? And back to that authentic word, you know, I don't think it comes across as authentic when someone is trying really hard to tell you, hey, I'm this, you know, or I'm not this, you know? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro, I'd rather not ever have to say those words and just be.
Yeah. You take this path from the Showtime at the what?
Cotillion.
At the Cotillion.
Yep.
To now I'm with Lupe, now I'm with Game, now I'm with Cray. Like, so many amazing collaborations. Like, it's going to be hard to say this in this interview, but what was that path like to get from a zero place to now I'm on Grammy nominated projects?
Yeah. From zero to a kilo. That's how I feel. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, man, to really start from nothing. And you know, anyone who's ever built anything, you appreciate the process and you appreciate that this massive building that we're sitting in right now, the people who built it, they're like, oh yeah, but it was brick by brick. Trust me, like I was there. It was brick by brick, and we had the vision, we had it mapped out, you know, we had the blueprint, we had it architected in the beginning, but we had to pound the pavement and build that foundation one by one, you know, one seed at a time. Yeah. That's what the path has been like, man. It's been celebrating the small wins that the world doesn't even, you know, recognize and acknowledge. Like, I could still remember performing at the Bottom Bash in Baton Rouge, that's in Lil Boosie's hood in, you know, South Baton Rouge, and performing and knowing, like, man, my music ain't nothing like Lil Boosie, you know what I mean, at all. But I'm gonna get on this stage and I'm gonna be so dope that I'm gonna have this whole hood still rocking with me the same way. And I remember performing there, and by the time I got off stage, my homie and I, we literally were having to run because they were chasing us. Like, all the kids were like chasing us, like to like mob us, you know what I'm saying? And just like embrace and want to hug us. And just, they were just like, they probably didn't even know why they were so into, you know, me or the performance that I had just done. And that's when I realized, like, man, it's a spirit that's even bigger than just my skill set that I possess. And that spirit, when that spirit shines the right way, it's gonna do things that aren't even gonna humanly make sense to people. Like, wait, how did this happen for this person? You know, and there's industry people who everything has to be so, you know, data driven to them, or there's people who view me as competition, you know, in the industry, to where I know they'll be sitting back and looking like, how does this keep happening for him? Or how did he get on this? Or how did this happen and pop off? And I'm like, bro, you're gonna lose your hair trying to figure me out, because you know, like it's obviously something it's God having his hand on me, you know what I mean? That's helping this.
Brick by brick to RCA inspiration to Sally Mae. You paid up, man. You changed my life with that, bro, because I'm still paying.
Yeah.
You know, to becoming now an independent artist. Like, let's talk about that. Yeah. What is the value of independence in this industry?
Yeah, so in this era, I believe that independence is a birthright that we are so quick to want to give away. You know what I mean? Independence is like your virginity, you know, and it's like when you get to the point to where, as you get, you know, older and you're about to get married to someone who you want to have all of you, you know, a lot of times you wish that you could give that person something special that no one else has ever had, you know, and you're like, dang, I gave that away so frivolously in the past to a person, you know. That's what independence is nowadays. So when people are quick, or when artists are quick to want to give up that independence to sign with somebody, it's just like, you're gonna reach a point, and I know because I'm that artist, you know. Before signing with RCA Records, I had deals on the table from Cash Money Records. You know, those were my heroes growing up. To have that type of deal on the table, to almost be signed to T.I.'s label, Grand Hustle, you know, to do my first tour around the country with all those brothers. To have this, you know, stuff on the table, and to just think about some of the stories, man, that I have of the efforts I was making to try to get signed. You know what I mean? It's almost like someone looking back being like, dang, I was just trying to throw my virginity away to anybody, you know, at the time. Meanwhile, there comes a time where I'm realizing that that's one of the most sacred things that I have. And I, at a time, I would say the era that we were in, I'm looking at everybody, bro, and I'm like, dang, everybody signed to major labels who I'm looking at as being kind of similar to me. Big Sean, okay, you get with Kanye West. You got a co-sign and a major label behind you, you know. J. Cole, okay, you get with Jay-Z and Rock Nation or Columbia Records, or, you know, Kendrick Lamar, you get with Dr. Dre, TDE, and Interscope, you know what I mean? Drake, come on, man, YMCMB, yeah, Wayne, and Universal. Nicki Minaj, same thing. Wale, Meek Mill, Rick Ross, you know what I'm saying? That whole label, Atlantic or whoever they were with. So at the time, I was just like, yeah, like, these are my contemporaries. These are the people who I see similarities between myself and them. So if that's what they did, I need to be doing the same thing.
Exactly.
The problem came to where there were certain compromises that they were willing to make, or there was a spirit that they feel like they were being led by that conflicted with the spirit that I feel like I was being led by. So for me, I'm not gonna curse in my music, you know what I mean? Not because it's a marketing scheme or a marketing tactic or something, but because of where I'm at in my faith and in Goliaths in my own life that I constantly strive to try to conquer. That's one that I've been able to successfully conquer. I used to curse like a sailor, you know what I'm saying? I've been able to stop that though. So if I'm not cursing off the microphone, what I look like getting on the microphone and starting to curse just because that's gonna make my music feel more like, this feel more palatable, you know, to a certain audience. Like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. You know, with with other artists, they might feel like, well, you know, I come from the streets, so I'm talking about what I see, or sometimes I'm inserting myself in first person, like as if I'm doing this stuff. It's like, no, you come from the street, cool. I come from the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, though. You know what I'm saying? So you don't come from a level of streetness that I don't come from. You know, I promise you. And with that being said, I'm still making a decision that I'm not gonna glorify this though in my music. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna glorify it, no matter what. Even if I'm talking about it, I'm not finna glorify it. Not everybody else feels that sense of conviction, you know, when it comes to themselves. That being said, that along with, you know, just other convictions, man. Like even when you talk about the other side of the fence, and some people who, you know, they say, I never knew this growing up because I didn't know too much about the gospel music industry or even like the Christian hip hop industry. I didn't know anything about it, to tell you the truth. And what I hear, you know, now in adulthood is that a lot of people who couldn't make it in R&B or couldn't make it in mainstream hip hop just say, well, it's a smaller pool over here, so I'm gonna just go over here and try to make it. And you say you a PK, so you know you might know way more on this than me. So you know, feel free to jump in if I'm off. But I've heard that a lot, and I see some truth in that, because I see a lot of people who I'm like, man, okay, this is what you identify as this type of artist. And so professionally, it kind of puts you at an advantage because it's a way smaller pool over here, you know, that you're in, and now you can, it's easier to stand out, right? But then, and none of us are saints, but off the microphone, man, y'all are so quick to do everything to prove to the people around you that I ain't this, you know what I mean? I'm more this, you know what I'm saying? I'm from this and I'm living like this, you heard me? But I'm about to go perform at this church and make these thousands of dollars right quick, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, sheesh. I'm like, I ain't finna do that either, you know what I mean? So I ain't finna do that, and I ain't finna do that. Man, I used to sit in my 1998 Honda Accord, you heard me, in New Orleans, and tell my partner, like, bro, I feel like they got like 1s, 2s, and 3s. Like, I'm a math person. I used to be a math teacher, you know what I'm saying? So before the music jumped off, I'm a math teacher because I love numbers. So I just broke it. I was like, I feel like they got 1s, 2s, and 3s. I feel like the 1s are the people who, they, you know, all they want to listen to when it comes to music and content they consume is faith-based, Christian-based, you know, content. That's all they want. If it ain't that, if it don't identify as, are you a gospel artist or this, that, or the third, they don't want it. But if it is identified as that, they'll consume it quick. They'll spend big bread on it. You know what I mean? That's 1s. I feel like they got 3s. The 3s are the ones that's like, man, like, I don't want nothing to do with that over there. I'm straight, you know, mainstream, straight, like
straight street,
popular culture, street, all that stuff. And then you got 2s, and you got 2s that are like, yo, like, because of how I was raised and because of just like how my personality and my taste buds and everything is set up, like I'm comfortable being in either of these, you know, spaces, but I kind of just exist in a space that's like a combination of both of these, you know. And I remember talking to my partner, and I'm like, man, the thing is, I'm a 2, you know, naturally, but there's very few tools in the world when it comes to a market, you know what I mean? Like a marketplace. So now when you talk about turning David into D1, and D1 is a product, you know what I mean? Like a product on a shelf, it's like there ain't that many consumers in the store even shopping in the aisle number 2. You know what I mean?
Wow.
They got way more consumers shopping in aisle number 1 and aisle number 3. And it's like, so which one you gonna do? And man, I've chosen to stay in aisle 2. You know what I'm saying? And I know people who have been like, bet, sign me up for aisle 1. You know what I'm saying? Like all day. I don't care how I feel on the inside, who I really am. Sign me up for aisle 1. You got other people that's like some people who I named before. I know who they are, man. I know y'all, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I salute everything that y'all got. Well, I don't salute it, but I'm not a hater, so I can acknowledge success when I see it. But I know you, and you just said I'm gonna be a 3. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be a 3 professionally, but personally, I'm really a 1 or a 2. You know what I mean? And I see that, bro. And I used to have them talks sitting in my car with one of my boys, and yeah, bro. Like it's yeah, I forgot what we was talking about, but yeah.
Man, I mean, I'm good with that. And you know what? I do feel like there is an emergence and a spotlight on twos. It's like the more a D1, the more a Lecrae, the more Andy Mineo, like the more those people come out, the more the twos feel like, oh, y'all just like me. You know what I'm saying? Because like even though I'm a PK, I'm all the way too, bro.
Yeah.
I'm all the way too.
Yeah, right.
I was looking for you growing up.
Right.
And there just wasn't.
Right.
There were no twos. It was ones or threes.
Yeah.
And then you go to a party and you a two, you go to the one, they like, nah. Right. You go to the three, they like, nah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel you. Want to kind of shift here though, like going from music to how do you get from being in these Grammy nominated spaces to Emmy nominated spaces? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, bro, just as you were asking the question, I didn't even know what you were about to ask. And in my head, I was thinking like, man, I don't know how to halfway do something. All I know how to do is just to completely pour myself out in any performance, in any interview, in any space. And I was thinking this 12, 13 seconds ago. I was like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I was literally thinking it. And then, so for you to ask that question of how do I get into an Emmy nominated space, because I just got nominated for an Emmy award this past year, that's how. It's just, bro, completely pouring myself out in everything that I do. So the event that I hosted, I do a lot of speaking events, a lot of speaking engagements. I do a lot of hosting of. I've hosted the BET Hip Hop Awards, red carpet. I've hosted BET honors. I've hosted all kind of stuff. For me to be hosting an event that was a digital event for youth all across the country, it had to do with World War II. It was something called the Manhattan Project, and it talked about the research that went into developing nuclear weapons and whatnot. And for me to be hosting that, it got broadcast to, like thousands and thousands of students around the country. But at the time, it's just a small studio, and it's just the crew essentially, and we're doing this event live. For that to be something that I'm approaching as if like, yo, I don't know how to treat this like a little small event, so all I know is to pour everything out every time. And the beautiful part about that is, and hopefully there's a lesson in this for someone, that was the first live event that I had done after the passing of my favorite girl in the whole world, which is my grandmother, right? That being said, I took almost a month off after she passed away because that was the first time I lost a real close family member. I was having to watch after my grandpa at the time, make sure he was okay. They were married 66 years. That's a big transition for him. So I was staying with him at the time. And, it's kind of like getting back into the swing of things of being D1 again after you'd been taken what for me felt like an eternity, like a big sabbatical, of not doing anything. For that to be the first event back and for that event to lead to me being nominated for an Emmy Award, that there's a lesson in that. There's something real spiritual about that, and I know that God had His hands in that moment. So that was a blessing, yo. So Emmy nominated, ended up losing to Michelle Obama, so that's not too bad.
Worthy
opponent to be defeated by.
I think so.
Right. So that was, yeah. So I think I enjoy saying that I lost to Michelle Obama more than I would have enjoyed winning. You know what I mean? Like, literally, I was just like, yo, that's cool, man.
Come
like
on,
that.
Put me in a sentence with Michelle.
Yeah.
Just a sentence.
Yeah, that's it. Just a sentence. So,
wow.
So that's how that happened, bro. Just completely pouring myself out each and every time and not knowing what's gonna come from it. And sometimes all that comes from it is the people who experienced you in that moment, during that interview, at that event you hosted, at that performance that you did. Sometimes all that comes from it is those people being like, he's special, you know what I mean? Or that was a blessing, or I felt a spirit, in the room. And you have to be okay with that, and not being like, well, I'm only gonna pull myself out if it's gonna lead to going viral, you know what I'm saying? My thing is like, I don't care what the platform is. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. When I'm on Sway in the morning and I got tears in my eyes and I got him about to cry, and it's like, you could feel just this magnetic energy that's in the room every time I do an interview with Sway. That's the same energy that anybody is finna get if they're like, hey, D1, you know, can we interview you? And if I agree to do it, and if I've never spoken to them a day in my life, or if they don't have any, you know, any viewing audience, it's like, you gotta be okay with knowing that, like, whoever consumes this, you have the ability to spark something in them and change their life. And that has to mean something to you.
Man, I mean, that's what it's all about, like influence. And that's actually where I want to shift now is, if you were talking to the next D1, to the next person that wants to create generational, impactful influence, because that's what a teacher does. That's what a rapper does. That's what a public speaker does. Like, that's what an investor does. What's the one piece of advice you would give them?
I would definitely go back to, this is the word of the interview, bro, in terms of authenticity. Because influence, you know, for me to be influenced all these years later by Miss Janie Melville or Mr. Troy Adams or Mr. Jake Flack, you know, teachers that I had that y'all don't know who they are, you know what I'm saying? Everybody could go Google them. They're not gonna pop up, you know what I'm saying? But they were so authentic during the 1 year that each of them were my teacher, you know, their authenticity, stories that I can remember Mr. Jake telling us about him being an aspiring artist and musician outside of him being our social studies teacher. That did make generational impact, because for me, when I find myself years later being a teacher who has an aspiring dream to be an artist, like in my mind, it was like, yo, this is possible because I saw Mr. Jake on this same grind. So I know that it's possible. When I'm getting 2 and 3 hours of sleep every night, week after week after week, but I'm knowing like, it's okay, man. You're not the first nor the last person who's going to be on this grind. It's just because of a man who was authentic, you know, with his students back in the day. And that authenticity is everything, bro. That authenticity makes it to where, like you said, like Squint said off camera, when he's with me at A3C and he can see the way 2 Chainz looks and sees me in the elevator and respects me, the way that these other artists, you know, kind of like your favorite rapper type thing are coming up, the way that fans are like not on some starstruck stuff, but on some like, yo, like your stuff hit different, the way that you've impacted me. You know, me being aware of that, I'm knowing that that's only coming from authenticity, bro. So, so authentic, man, authentic. That's the word for 2022 that I'm really pushing.
I love it, man. I love it. I mean, now when you talk about impact or hitting different with folks, like, let's talk about hoop, because how it's become a part of your world, or how it was your world. You hit different with major hoopers. Like, you hit different with a Steph, you know, like, what does basketball mean to D1? I see you got bright up a little bit.
Man, like, that was my first love. Basketball was my first love before hip hop, you know. I was a fan of hip hop and a fan of basketball, but before I became comfortable on the microphone, I got comfortable on that court. Before I cared about writing a verse or a hook that would make people go ooh and ah, I wanted to, you know, I lived on this real busy street, right? And my people had got me a goal, so I had to go. We had a real small, narrow driveway, but my people had got me a goal, and what I cared about more than writing, you know, a dope rhyme was when that bus is passing by and when these cars are passing by on this street, I know they looking out the corner of their eye to see the little light-skinned dude shooting on his goal, and I want to pluck a 3-pointer, you know, when the bus is passing, so everybody on the bus is like, ooh, that used to be in my mind. Like, I know that bus is behind me passing right now. I'm going to wait, and I want to pluck that sucker and have everybody on the bus reacting. Like that, with that being said, basketball hits different, man. And also, sports provides such a great metaphor for life lessons to be learned and taught. You know, so everything from me getting cut from the school team my 9th grade year, like I told you off camera, I was the dude who played street ball and was real good. And then when it came to tryouts, I'm like, piece of cake, you know what I'm saying? It's finna be a breeze, you know what I mean? And got on the court, didn't know what a figure 8 was, you know, couldn't really run the plays, and got cut from the team my 9th grade year to go on to set all the records in my school's history, you know what I mean, of having the most points, making the junior nationals team and the all-star teams and all this, but being cut and understanding that work I had to put in between 9th grade and 10th grade to go from being cut, not even making JV, to starting on varsity, you know, in 10th grade. That's a metaphor for life, just to have perseverance and just to keep going. So that's why I love sports so much. And that love will never go anywhere. And I think that that synergy between athletes and rappers it's a thing, you know, it's a thing. But it's really a thing when you got somebody who has an appreciation for both, you know what I mean? And I have an appreciation for both. So when I have somebody like Stephen Curry, you know, the greatest basketball player of our era, you know, the most innovative hit, who has literally single-handedly changed the game, telling me like, I'm bumping that DEE-1, you know what I'm saying? Like this what I'm listening to, and turning his iPhone around and showing me, you know, like this was something I recently listened to, playlist. I'm just like, man, that's powerful. That's powerful. That's inspiring, and that's the type of thing that just makes me smile, because I know the role that music plays in propelling athletes to greatness.
Man.
Yeah.
Intimately,
bro. Intimately. Like Nas and the Hot Boys were my soundtrack to Nas. I'm listening to Nas literally like I'm listening to Nas, I'm listening to Warrior song, you know what I'm saying? I remember the song he got with Alicia Keys, Warrior song. We at the enemy's gym, you know what I'm saying? Like we at our rival school's gym, and I'm sitting in the bleachers and I'm listening to Warrior song. I'm listening to Mastermind, you know what I'm saying? Mastermind, and how I'm about to overtake this team, and if they're gonna try to double team me and all this stuff. I'm listening to Enemy Turf, Lil Wayne featuring Juvenile, number 13 on the Block Is Hot album, you know what I'm saying? I'm listening to this, man. I'm like, cause it's Enemy Turf that I'm on. So I'm gonna play it how it go, cock the hollow point and give my black calico. Like, I'm listening to this as I'm looking across the gym. Like, that's what we finna go to war with. You know what I mean? So I know the role that the music plays on a different level towards propelling athletes to greatness.
I love that, man. This could go on forever. So we're gonna get to the closing segments. In the spirit of music, we have this new segment to the pod. You know, what you slapping, what you reading, what you rocking. So we're gonna start with what you slapping. Like, what are you listening to right now?
Okay, yeah. Hey, one thing you can't say about me is that I'm not consistent, bro. What I'm listening to right now,
Wayne?
Nah, that boy Nas. That boy Nas just dropped his new album with Hit Boy, Magic. This is all I've been listening to, bro. Like, literally, when I look at my most recently added things to my library, it's either my new singles that I've dropped recently, or Nas and Hit Boy, that album Magic. So that's what I'm slapping, bro.
I love it, man.
Absolutely loving it.
Now, someone as savvy and as smart as you, I know you reading something. Like, what's the last good thing you picked up?
So number one, I mean, I've been in my word a lot. I've been in my Bible, you know what I'm saying? Treating it like it's just a novel, that it's like, hey, next chapter, let's get to it. That's because I be preaching as well, you know what I mean? So like, that's something that I do. And in order to preach, you gotta be able to internalize what the word says and be able to synthesize that so that you got the input that produces the output that you ultimately come with. I got a little book that it's in there right now that it's called the 22 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Yeah. It's been on my spirit that this next level for me, or this next season, is gonna be more about being a leader. First, a leader of myself, you know, but then a leader of people around me, than it is about being like, more more talented, you know, per se. Like the talent part, and the impact and the influence that I know that I have is gonna be maximized based on the type of leader I am, more so than just like, yo, what's the newest punchline you thought of today? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
wow.
yeah.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
And then the last section, you know, obviously, like I know your connection to Puma.
Yeah.
So what you rocking?
Yeah. Definitely. That's all I rock is Pumas when it comes to the kicks. You know, I rock with who rock with me, you know, and for Puma to believe in me the way they do and to show me love for a few years now, you know, and to, you know, I'm real passionate about giving back to my community. So me and Puma have partnered up to be able to bless my city, you know, with kicks, and me being able to do giveaways to where during the holiday season, man, hundreds and hundreds, well, actually over 1,000 pair of shoes, you know. I remember we blessed my city with that. I'm a loyal dude. I'm a simple dude. I'm just like, man, y'all rocking with me. Y'all like my music. Y'all like my brand. And y'all helping me bless my city. This is all you're going to see me with on my feet.
I love it, man. I'm Puma fan all day. The Clydes, all that. And now that they're doing hoop, I know that's got to be special.
It's even
too.
better, bro. Now
know?
that they're doing hoops, yeah, bro. Like it's even better, bro. And I love that they, to me, they feel like the underdog who, like, when it comes to the hoop side of apparel and kicks, they feel like the underdog that kind of like came from left field, and that now, like, you see their stock just rising and rising and rising. And I like that because I am that, you know. I relate to that. I relate to that narrative so much, bro. That's my story in the rap game.
I mean, the fact that your name is David, David was a man that he had to pour it all out. David was a man that was an underdog. David was a man that got that slingshot.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So thank you, man.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Complete pleasure. Like, the word was authentic for this year.
Yeah.
That's the word for this episode, man. So thank you so much, man.
Man,
thank
my
you
brother. Love, bro.
Sir.
Big love. We did it.
Peace.
We did it.
Thank you for listening to the Untold podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for more.